Anyuon, isn't it your surname?
Yeah, Anyuon, yeah.
Anyuon, yeah. Righto, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are once again, Resolute TV. I'm the Freedom Chef, Dean McRae. I've had the good fortune of befriending a fine fellow from Victoria named Jerry Anyuon. I probably mispronounced his surname a little bit there, but my accent's Bogan Aussie, so we get a bit of that. Welcome everybody who's tuning in. We'll tune in over the live and we'll tune in, over time, as happens with these YouTube type videos and these live streams. Now, anyone who doesn't know, Jerry is a leader of the Sudanese community. He immigrated to Australia. He's now, for all intents and purposes, a proud Australian, or a somewhat disgruntled Australian based on behaviours of our governments in recent times. And he's fortunate enough, he's joined the Resolute TV fam, and we're thrilled to have him. We're proud to have him and proud to know him. So lucky us. The first little disclaimer that I always make before we have these chats is neither of us are doctors, neither of us are giving any medical advice. We're just giving opinion and our thoughts and beliefs. So to the YouTube censors and all the rest of them, these are just opinions, certainly not medical advice. So there's a little bit of bum covering for us. Jerry, how are you, my friend?
Good, my friend. Good to see you again.
Mate, you've gone viral. Most famous
really,
bloke in Australia after yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was a good day. I'm telling you, that was the first day for all the Freedom family to come together. And the most important thing about yesterday was to prove to the mainstream media and the Victoria government and Victoria police that the Freedom protesters were not violent. So all along we've been called anti-vaxxers, we've been called violence, anti-police and all this. But yesterday was the proof to this state that the politicians are afraid, they are so much scared. When we come together like we came yesterday, their lies can be exposed. And I think we couldn't have seen. So we proved that one yesterday, and I was so happy. I couldn't be more happy than.
I was watching as much of Real Rushkin's stream as possible. I find he's probably one of the most credible. There's a handful of guys that I really like to watch, and that they're very credible and they show things as they are. And Rushkin's one of them. And I was sort of watching it yesterday, and I got to see your speech, and I sort of thought, I know that guy. He's very familiar. I'll reach out and see what he's up to. I'll have a bit of a powwow. Mate, it was a beautiful thing to see. It's amazing to see so many people who have started to value freedom and liberty. We all, I've been pushing the cart for a little while, but to see people stand together in such a beautiful way, there was a bloke playing a violin. It was just phenomenal to watch, mate. How many people do you reckon were there?
Should not be less than 20. Should not be less than 2,000. One thing I can tell you, it's not less than 2,000. It's more than that.
And were you invited to speak specifically, or did somebody just throw you a microphone and say, "Hey, Jerry, get at it, son"?
Actually, I was not invited. I didn't even know who was organizing it.
Okay.
If you had seen my Facebook page in the morning, I had gone to the bookshop. So I always like going to walk in Melbourne and then go to the bookstores, check some of my favorite writers, whether they have got some new book being released. So I went to the bookstore next to Parliament, and then I checked my Facebook, and I saw Real Rukshan was streaming live at the Treasury Garden. So I just walked there. And I struggled with organizers. I struggled with telling them, guys, I want to say something. Some of them said no. In the beginning, they resisted me saying something because they were not part of the regular organizers that we used to do the freedom protest last year. If it was Monica Smith,
Reignite Democracy Australia.
They would have known me because they know me. I've been with them since last year. So, but this group is a new one. I don't know them, and they have got all the right to not just allow anybody to speak because they did not know what I was going to say.
You've got to be a bit cautious about who you give a microphone to.
I agree with them. I totally agree with them. And I had to come and explain to one of the very brilliant young person. I forgot his name. I explained to him what I wanted to say. And I explained to him where I have been with all these protests and all this. So they finally allowed me to speak. And there it was.
Mate, and you do speak very well. Your background gives you a very unique perspective on freedom and liberty. You've come from Sudan, which had you and I spoke recently, or last month, I think it was. We had a bit of a chat just privately, and you've come from a fairly seriously undemocratic country, I suppose. There's a lot of totalitarian overlords running around Sudan, and all of a sudden you've come to Australia for freedom and liberty, and the bastards have locked you up and taken freedom and liberty. Your perspective is very unique. You've got a lot to compare it to. How are you feeling about being an Australian these days, mate?
You see, basically, I come from, originally was used to be Sudan, but now I'm from South Sudan because the whole country divided into two. So I fall in South Sudan. That's where I came from. It's now called South Sudan. But exactly, I would agree with you. It wasn't the reason that most South Sudanese came to Australia was because of exactly lack of freedom, persecution by the totalitarian government in the northern Sudan by then. And Australia was the only country there. Australia, Canada, and America were among the few countries that opened their doors to South Sudanese to come and start a new life.
Yeah.
So I am one of the last people who came. I didn't come as a refugee. I came on a partnered visa 5 years ago. And definitely, my little understanding of political system put me in a better footing than some of my community members.
Yeah.
So when Daniel Andrews decided to use COVID-19 to lock down people, let's say this: we are not denying this virus. There's a pandemic. There's a virus.
Sure.
I'm not denying that. But the way the politician has taken advantage of this virus to pursue their own political goal was very clear in the lies that they've been saying.
Yeah.
Every time you see our premier coming to the screen and you see him talk, definitely, unless you are completely out of this world, you will know that there's a lot of inconsistencies in whatever he's saying.
Yes.
Not only him, even the prime minister. The prime minister who refused to take his responsibility and send it over to the state premiers. He's telling us here there's no mandatory vaccine, and he's the prime minister of this country. At the same time, people are losing their job because they've been told to get it. So totally, the COVID-19 is there, is real. Nobody's denying that. But the way the politician has used it all over across the board, whether liberal or Labour, they've used it all to destroy civil liberties, and that's what took me to the street.
Mate, it's disgusting. Look, I had an old saying, and it wasn't my saying. It was one that my parents used to use when we were kids, and we'd hear them every time there was a politician on TV, and they'd say something. How do you know when a politician's lying? And the answer to that question is their mouth is moving. So and that's a sad state of affairs. I'd like to think that we could create or come up with some better leadership. Scott Morrison's not a leader's backside. We all know that. He's spineless. Daniel Andrews he certainly has some front. I don't know if I would call him courageous, but he's certainly brave enough to go, I want to implement all these horrible things and I'm going to do it. And that takes a type of courage. It's not necessarily a positive one, but it is a type of courage. And the premiers seem to have, across the whole country, really taken the lead. And it's embarrassing. It has to be embarrassing for the federal government because our prime minister is essentially useless. Why do we even have him if he has no authority?
Yeah, and I think what you just said is also what I used to answer so many questions. Some people have been asking me since yesterday, not only yesterday but previously, they're saying, "Are you going to contest election?" If you go to my Twitter, you will see a lot of people saying, "Matt, you should join politics. You should join politics." But I don't want to join politics for the sake of politics. I want to join politics if there's something I see that I need to change, that I think my being there can change.
Yes.
One of the reasons I joined the Freedom family and be joining them is that I don't want a 10-year-old South Sudanese kid to be lied to. And then when you grow up, 10, 15 years from now, you see everything the community leaders have been saying was a lie. I don't want to be part of those liars. Some of those liars are this one here.
Yeah.
Most of the community activists in my community, they're so much loud on Australia being racist. They're looking everything negative about our community, young teenagers and everything.
Yes.
The narrative, mostly the most loud narrative is that's racism. Nobody's talking about the fact that you are free in this country. And that freedom you have here comes with responsibilities.
Yes.
There's nobody telling them an element of responsibility. When I was a kid, I think about 1989 or 1990, I traveled with my father, my late father. We traveled from a certain village where we were. We went to another one, looking for, there's some areas where cultivation, there's a lot of surplus grain and everything. So we're going to look for this grain to come and feed. I went with my dad. And then we went to the new house. We were visitors in that house, and I was trying to pick things that are not correct in that house. I was telling Daddy, I said, no, that kid is not good. The house is not being done properly. I was trying to point out all the negative thing about our guests, I mean, the place that we've been hosted in. and then I remember what my father told me. He said, do you remember why we came here? I said, but we come here to get grain. He said, yep, that means we were lacking something that they have.
Yes.
So if we came here because we're coming to get something that we are lacking and they have, then you don't need to capitalize on the shortcoming.
Yeah.
Some of our activities. Yeah?
Well, and look, I would argue that Australia isn't a racist country. We do have some racist people, like everywhere, and there are some racist people, and there are some shit humans, and there are you can come up with a list of different individuals that are assholes, for lack of a better term, in different categories. But that doesn't make an entire country racist.
Correct. Or that cannot allow you to use. So coming back to the point I was trying to say is that from that time when I was a kid, I remember when I came to Australia here, I remember that statement from my father. I say entirely all the community activists, entirely their explanation of what is happening is more about racism. It's more about what is wrong with Australia. There's no conversation about what is good about Australia. Even a building, just say a building. You say, okay, let's say if you have to go back to South Sudan 10 or 20 years from now, what can you pick from Australia that is not in South Sudan? Pick that one and focus on it.
Yes.
Leave all other negativity. The teenagers have not been given alternative. For example, they're all focused into the American Black Lives Matter, American movies, but they are not in part and parcel of this economy. How can you benefit from an economy that you don't know?
Yes.
Living in Australia is different. Being a part and parcel of the mainstream economy is different. There are skills you need to be part and parcel. And if I want to be employed by Dean, I need to know how to cook. I need to be a chef.
Yes.
Yeah. I need that skill first.
I will give you. You come down here, mate. Hang out with me. We'll do some cooking lessons. We'll have some fun.
I won't leave Victoria, man. I won't leave Victoria. Victoria need us. Victoria, we want you here. We want you here.
I can only be in so many places at once, my friend. I can only be in so many places at once. But I'd love to come down to Victoria, and I'm really proud of what I saw out of Victoria yesterday, and what I've been seeing out of Victoria the last few months. I mean, not all of it's amazing, there was some of the more riot and the aggressive stuff, but I like you look at it and you weigh it up. There's always going to be one or two agitators, but yesterday was really a beautiful thing. It was amazing to watch. I'm jealous that I wasn't able to be part of it. I'm about 5 hours, 6 hours from Melbourne, where I live. So, I can't just duck down for a protest. I'm sort of very rural these days. But, mate, I was proud to be an Australian watching yesterday's. And I've had some downtime over the last few months where I've been red hot some days and really proud. And other times I've been a bit ashamed of the state of Australia.
And I would tell you to Dean, the previous protest, the one that used to be called violent and all this, the police don't come to facilitate free protest. They come to attack.
Yes.
But the one for yesterday, they came to facilitate. And when I saw one person being arrested as we were approaching the parliament step. One person. We all lectured each other that if there's somebody causing problem here, we are the one to handle it with police together. That one person was taken away, and everybody was. We got rain on until our clothes were wet and again get dry again. I didn't dream there was rain until I had to dream about it last night. That I was rain on yesterday. When the police is not being used as a political tool, they work together with people, and they get the praise that they want. Look how the police were honored yesterday.
Yes.
Literally, we had to stay 2 hours, more than 1 hour, to chat with the police, to chat among each other at the walkway side. That is a Victoria I want to see.
Yep.
That is a Victoria everybody wanted to see. Not a Victoria that a one man is just out of control and directing the police. Those police are not happy to do whatever they've been subjected to do for the first few months. But they were
No,
happy yesterday.
I've seen and heard a lot of footage that indicates that they aren't happy to be in that
And
role.
I'm not denying, Dean, I'm not denying that there were when the police are not coming to facilitate the protest, and the protesters are aware that the police are not here to facilitate them, the wrong element entered the crowd.
Yes.
The wrong element entered the crowd and take advantage of the fact that the police are not here to facilitate the protest. And the protesters are angry at the police. But when they know that the police and the freedom rally protesters are together, the criminal has no chance.
And it's a beautiful thing.
It's in the interest of Daniel Andrew to make sure that there are more criminals among us to attack the police so that he can use that to shut down the rallies.
Yes.
We will not allow that.
It was amazing, mate. I was very proud watching it. It was the nicest feeling I've had watching these things for a little while. Evelyn Joette has just commented, well done, Jerry. She wanted to go as well yesterday. I don't know Evelyn personally, but hi, Evelyn. She's still having side effects from having her first dose, so she'd really like to attend on Saturday. So that's great. Obviously, people have watched and seen. Now, you made quite an impassioned speech, Jerry. And again, I was like, I'm going to have to reach out to Jerry after that. That was excellent. He and I need to catch up. And mate, you speak really well. You speak from the heart. You're a leader in the Sudanese community and now in the Australian community, as far as I'm concerned. You're not just a Sudanese community leader. You're an Australian community leader. Mate, how does it feel? And how did you get from South Sudan to being a community leader in Australia? It's an interesting story, and you've had an interesting journey. Let's introduce you to as many people as possible.
Before I answer your question, actually, let me just make some clarification. The ABC and all the other media houses that work with the community leaders, I don't want them to take advantage to say that I'm not any elected community leader. I just speak on my own. I'm not representing any community, but I come from South Sudan. The few that happen to listen to me, it is totally their own choice. So I don't want people to take advantage that they say, this guy is not even a community leader. So there is no any formal community organization that I lead. I'm just somebody who speaks my mind. I'm not representing anybody, but I speak on behalf of the community in the council that I'm in. Community members that listen to whatever I'm saying and they believe it, totally is theirs. Coming back to what you just said, it's all about upbringing, Dean. It's all about your upbringing. The way you have been brought up count a lot on how you relate to others. I can say I'm very fortunate enough to have been raised by a very good father. I've grown up in a time when my country was going through a civil war. So when there are crises like the crisis we went through during the COVID, it produced a generation that is more informed. But when there is peace and there are no turbulences and all this, you get to have a lot of citizens or people of the community that don't even know anything. So they are not being challenged to find out why they should do this. So I wouldn't say there's something special about me to come to Australia and just pick up from here. But one thing that put me in a better advantage than the rest is that during my university years in Africa, I did economics and political science. And one of my passionate area was international relations. And I read a lot on the Cold War. I was mostly into the East-West conflict. There's no any book that I've got hold on about the Soviet Union. I've read them all. I was a passionate supporter of the Eastern Europe, the Eastern European that were colonized by the Soviet Union, the Poland and all the other countries. So I was very much a student of a Cold War, and that one forces me to actually know more about freedom. And yes. I also read a lot about. I read Viktor Frankl's The Man in Search for Meaning, who was in a concentration camp. Finally, you could see now all these books behind me here, about 468. So I read a lot, and that reading allowed me to be better informed than others. I think that's where I might have got this from.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, I'm going to disagree with you on one point when you say that you're not special, because anybody who has the courage to stand up and speak their mind in the way that you do, and you put yourself. I understand what it's like when you put yourself out in a certain public to a public degree, based on your principles and your beliefs and your love of freedom. It does make you a bit special. We live in a time where courage has been somewhat lacking. And to see gentlemen like yourself and plenty of the others, like Topher Field and Real Ruction and these other personalities and leaders that are emerging from this, it takes a courage, and that's a kind of special. I think it's not special as in I'm more special than you or I'm better than you, but it is special to have the courage to do that, and I think that's really amazing, and I think that's why you're coming to the forefront of this movement, and you've been identified. You speak well, and you're clear, and you're very passionate and enthusiastic, mate. And I think it's a real credit to you and your courage, your internal fortitude, if you will. It's a beautiful thing, and we need more people to stand up. And what I do notice is every time one person stands up, somebody else gets the courage to do the same thing, and that's very important.
Thank you, Juan, again. But I just want to say too, also. I got a good, the generation that I came from in South Sudan, who may be watching this video later on back home, they're more smarter than me. Some of them are more courageous than me. If they were here, they would have done better than I am doing now. And the narrative or the story about South Sudanese community in Australia, it's not good. Let's be honest. It's not good.
Yeah.
If you mention a South Sudanese name, whether you deny it or not, as a South Sudanese community leader, the image for a South Sudanese outside there is not good.
Yes.
Whether South Sudanese did it by themselves or the media did it or whoever did it, I don't know who did it, but I just want to accept that it is not good. Okay, if I'm here, or if somebody else from South Sudan that I know was here, what would they have done? They would have done better than me. Because we are not in our culture, like the culture that I come from, we don't like to be spoon-fed. We are a community that work hard. I remember when we were a kid, if you go to a neighbor house and you come back having eaten something, my mom will beat you. She will flog you.
Yeah, right.
You will think you've gone to beg. You've gone to beg in that house. No South Sudanese mother would ever look at his kid, at her kid coming back from a neighboring house, eating something. The first thing you will get is a smug on your head. Where did you get it from? Because she doesn't want to be recognized as a mother of a beggar.
Yeah,
and the next thing she will tell you, I'm working hard every day for you, and I don't want you to go and beg. Don't distort my name. So coming here, and I see people pointing out shortcomings within my community, being called racist. I'm not denying there are elements of racism, but denying the entire problem within the community and blaming it on racism, I was saying, no, I need to be different. I need to say it for what my mother taught me it was. Few racist elements, there is a law to take care of them. If somebody really racist you in Australia, believe me, the law will take care of it. If you really go and report that person has done something to you, or maybe had the racist comment, they won't maintain their job tomorrow.
Yes.
There's law that will take care of it. But using a blanket statement to deny responsibility, I said, no, I'm not going to be part of it. For the sake of my colleague who are smarter than me, who are not here, who would have made use of this country better than me, I'm going to be different. And I'm going to speak where no one expects me to speak. I don't want to be famous. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not about me. It's about what the 15-year-old kid now will find out later on when he's 30. And he will blame me, not you. He will blame me that Uncle Jerry did not tell me the truth. So these are the things that give me courage to stand up. At a personal level, I've been discriminated. I'm not denying that. But most racial discrimination, they don't come as racial discrimination. They come in political form.
Yes.
They come in a political form. When I went last year, when I went to Sky News, some of my members, I went to Sky News to talk about the organization that I created. some of my community members, some of my workmates, they saw the platform. They didn't even listen to what I said. They said, how come you go to Andrew Ball? Andrew Ball is against the union.
Yep.
And they cut contact with me. They didn't even listen to why I went to Sky News. Before I knew it, it was my job going down. I didn't have work. I did not have work. There's no work. I know there's no clear message that what you did is wrong. We are not giving you a job because of that. But you could see the tendency.
Yes.
You could know why you're not having a job. You came up from somebody who was very popular within the union. Now you are somebody who has been an outcast. And I don't care about those ones. If you don't give me your job, it is your private company. I have no problem with you. But I'm not going to change my conviction for the sake of your employment.
Again, we get back to just how courageous you are, Jerry, and that's one of the amazing things about you. And that's I think I first reached out to you probably a year or so ago when I discovered who you were, and I thought this guy seems fantastic. We need to become friends. And we've spoken many times since, and I'm very proud to say that I know Jerry's top bloke. I'd be more than happy. I'd work with you in any circumstances. I really think you're an absolute legend, and you're definitely a credit to both the South Sudanese community and the Australian community. And look, and there's some negative elements and there's some racist elements in both sides. There is a South Sudanese reputation for poor behaviours, but when you single people out as a class of people, I think you're miles off the mark, because an individual has to be responsible for their own behaviours and their own choices. And as a community, we sort of just try to direct people in certain ways and support them in certain ways and see where it ends up. Evie here has asked a question. Hi, Evie. Do you think we have a chance of stopping this new dangerous permanent state of emergency bill? I've emailed dozens of MPs expressing my concerns. What do you think about that one, Jerry? Oh, there's my little bloke jumping in.
Hey, I saw you. Hey, man, how are you?
Do you have any ways to go?
Go and have a look. No, not behind me. Sorry, I'm sitting out in the garden. It's a spectacular day, and I couldn't resist sitting out in the garden. And he's getting ready. He wants to go trick-or-treating later, so he's getting very excited, but doesn't really start until 5 or 6. So until then, he'll sort of, go and cause mischief in the backyard. I reckon I should make him go and weed the garden, Jerry. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's good.
But back to Evie's question, mate. Do you think we do have a chance of stopping this permanent state of emergency bill?
Unfortunately not. I don't see that coming.
Yeah.
Reason I say is that Daniel Andrew, the Labour Party has got majority in Parliament, and the few crossbenchers apart from the Liberal Democrats are already in the pocket of Labour Party.
Yes.
They've been bought over. Unfortunately, I need to say that.
Yep.
And Daniel Andrew, by the way, is a politician. He's a real dictatorial politician. He's very smart. Let me just not deny. So people think this guy is not. This guy is a smart person, very smart politically. He is using whatever chance he's getting now, on off chance that if he is not re-elected, he would have put some permanent legislation in Parliament in his name.
Yes. Yes.
If he is re-elected, he will come and give you a middle finger after the 26th of November that I told you, and I'm making more.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
Don't expect this bill to be dismissed or something. It's going through. Another thing that is making it go through is that it seems like the entire Labour Party is being controlled by him.
Yes. There are no dissenting voices.
There are no dissenting voices. There is no future aspirant. I cannot see anybody within the Labour Party with the same aspiration that they would want to replace Daniel Andrew in the future. Because if there were some aspirant within the party that really wanted to be the replacement of Daniel Andrew, they would have actually been dissenting some of the things that he's doing. So the entire party is under him. Let's be honest. The entire party is under him.
And to be fair, most of the Liberal Party seem to be as well, mate. The Liberal Party don't seem to have any spine to stand up to Daniel Andrews in Victoria either. The only, there was the Ford. sure you're familiar. You mentioned the Liberal Democrat Party, which we all know I'm very closely affiliated with. I run as a candidate for the Liberal Democrats. I'm part of their team. David Limbrick and Tim Quilty, both down there, have been loud voices against Daniel Andrews and most of these legislations. So anybody watching who is looking to find those alternative voices in Parliament that will stand up, those two guys, Catherine Cumming, MP. I haven't met Catherine yet, but I have no doubt she'll be on here as a guest at some point, and she and I shall have a chat because she's been very, very brave as well. And I think one of the Shooters and Fishers guys has been fairly consistent at least challenging some of. But there doesn't seem like the Liberal Party at all has any interest or any capabilities in challenging Daniel Andrews at all. He's pretty well a one-man show.
Let's be honest. The political landscape in Australia has changed. It might have been different before I came. But as for now, what I'm seeing and what I have read as a part of history of this country, the politics on the right is done.
Yes.
Because we need a leader because the reason the left is more dominant, the left has got this virtue signaling appeal to migrant community or to people who are afraid. That there's a lot of promises they give you. There's a lot of promises from the government. We promise you this, we promise you this. And most people out of fear, they would better hang on to the promise than to be told, be responsible. Well, the politics on the right is about be responsible.
Yeah.
Don't depend on the government. But the politics on the left is the government will do this, the government will do this, the government will do this.
It's a general malaise and apathy, really, isn't it? It's it makes me very sad because I'm so desperate to just sort of be left alone. That's my every part of my being just wants to be left alone. I don't want to interact with these government officials. I don't want to be involved in politics. And people, why are you involved? Well, because it impinges upon, it approaches me. The old saying, if you don't take any interest in politics, that doesn't mean that politics won't take an interest in you. I have no doubt that, most Australians don't want to be infringed upon by any of these government agencies. But again, they sell this dream. We're going to look after you. We're going to protect you. These guys can't fucking fix potholes, mate.
And the people are so lazy to ask, protecting me from what? They're so lazy to ask that question. Yeah. What are you protecting me from?
I'd like to be protected from government. How do we do that?
That's what I want to.
How do we get these guys back into their box?
Yeah. And then coming back to the Liberal Party, what you were trying to say before is that, if you don't have, I think it was John Anderson who said you cannot have good policy without a good debate. I think one of his YouTube with Jordan Peterson. I listened to that. As long as people are not allowed to talk, to discuss what is important, and you're only cancelling people, there will be no room for a better option. You won't find what unite people. And when you allow people to gather together, political freedom, to speak up freely, debate issues, you have like what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So the Liberal Party, the same time also as Liberal Democrat, they need the new political party, the smaller political parties now need to shop for leaders. They need to look for leaders.
Yes.
The job of a political party now is not to win. Number one, is to look for leaders. Go to each and every community. Australia 30 years ago has changed. Majority of new arrivals to Australia 30 years ago, they dominate more now. The migrants that came in 30 years ago are the ones having a larger population, mostly in urban cities like Melbourne.
Yes.
So, as a politician on the right, what message are you trying to develop? For example, let me say the Western Suburb, where I am now, where I moved to, is dominantly Indian. It's dominantly Indian. The South Sudanese, African are less here. All right, if you are a politician or a political party, you need to find out what are the job or the service industry that Indian communities engage in. And then go to the community meetings, the Indian community meeting, find out who are the articulate, brave community leaders and recruit them to your party.
Yes.
As a political party. These political party issues of that people are the one to move to the political party. No, that's not how it works. Political parties should be recruiting. Should be recruiting in keeping in mind that the demographic, the economic classification of all these communities, what is more important in particular communities is not the same. The Liberal Party, the Liberal National Party has failed in that. Are you there, Dean? Hello? Hello? You seem to have gone, Dean.
Sorry, Jerry. How you going, buddy?
Hey, how are you, man? What happened?
I sit here telling them, young, this is beautiful, but the device didn't like it and kicked me off. So sorry, ladies and
You look beautiful now more than you were outside there.
come on, but the sun's so nice, mate. You know, like
I know. I always tell people jokingly, I need to set up my studio better. I said, I need more light on me than Dean. And they start talking. They say, you are a racist. I said, no, I'm not. It's true.
Mate, fantastic. Sorry about that. Yeah, it just cut out and it just went, oh, no more. I went, oh, shit, that's no good.
I hope the people are still back there.
Yeah, no, we're back now. We're all good, mate. We're all good. Sorry, where were you up to when it cut out there?
So what I was trying to say was, Dean, is that political parties need to be recruiting.
Yes.
If they identify, the job of political party is to recruit leaders. First of all, you formulate policies the way you would want to run that country, and then go and recruit leaders. Go and recruit leaders that will implement those policies. You don't just bring in people, because one thing I always tell people is that Liberal Democrat, Liberal National Party, or Australian Labour Party, or One Nation, or United Australian Party, or another party, never get me into your party because I'm a black man who want to represent minority. No.
Yep.
If there is nothing about me that can save the entire Australia, then I'm not the right person.
Yes.
I don't need to be in politics or to go to parliament to represent black people. No, that's not my job.
Yep.
My job should be, am I a leader enough to save this country? Black and white, green, yellow, whatever color it is. I don't care about the color. I care about, can I provide the job that I needed? Can I build the infrastructure needed? People driving on those roads, you don't check which lane is for black, which lane is for white. They all enjoy the services. And the role of a politician should be to make sure that the people get what they want. The taxpayers' money has been used in the benefit of the people.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a bit hesitant. I'm a bit hesitant for those who are asking me. I know some of my good friends, Liberal Democrat, Tim Quilty and David Limbrick. I have had a good meeting with them.
I said to you previously in one of our private conversations that I'd love to have you in the party. I think you'd be an excellent asset for freedom and liberty. And obviously, we're the party of freedom and liberty. That's our core values is freedom and liberty. So it's got nothing to. I don't care if you, as you said, black, white, green, yellow, monkey's uncle. The point would be, you're an absolute legend of a leader. You stand up. You're well thought out. You're brave. You're courageous. And we need more courageous people in politics. I believe firmly. I have no personal ambitions to be in politics. And people keep saying, but you're involved in all these things. It's not out of personal ambition. I'm here because I didn't see anybody else standing up at the time. So I did so to hopefully inspire other people too. You know, if I'm willing to put my hand up above the parapet and possibly get it shot off, maybe another couple of excellent leaders or potential leaders will step up and be brave enough to go, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. Or I may be smarter than him or better looking than him or whatever the case may be. As long as they have that principle where they're trying to promote a free and prosperous Australian society, I'd love to see them involved in politics in some capacity. Anybody who wants to be there because they've always had ambition of being a politician, if that's your goal is I want to be a politician, I don't want you anywhere near Parliament. I think that's a real parasitical way to look at it, you know. And even the parties that I disagree vehemently with, you know, like I have very little in common with many parties, you know, like I don't like any of your policies, maybe one, you know. I still appreciate the fact that they're there if they're there for genuine reasons.
Correct.
You know, that's
one of the points that I would want. One of the things that I would want to say is that I always want to give my best. If I know that I am not the best that the party deserved, I will have to work on myself.
Yeah.
Until I become, because I don't want to be in a party where you will have to shut me down because you don't agree with what I say.
Yes.
I need the party to know where I stand on the families, where I stand on workers, where I stand on immigration, where I stand. The only thing that I don't have a stand on, to be honest, is climate change. I don't understand that thing. Just like COVID, I don't understand the two of them. I know this real. There's a climate problem. I know there's a COVID problem, but I don't have the technical know-how to understand them.
Yes.
So true, I don't understand them. That's where I will not say anything about them.
Yep.
But I need a party to understand where I stand on the workers. And a simple example, Dean, you just brought me to that topic now. I'm a member of CFMEU until a few months back when I did not have work. I've been working for the last 3 years with CFMEU. They have interviewed me in the magazine. This is one of the magazine here. I was interviewed there. The first place where my interview was put was in CFMEU. I attended the union meeting. The reason nobody invited me among them, I'm the one. All the members of the union don't need to be attending meetings. They don't attend actually. But because I was an active person who understands what it means for the workers to organize, I made it a point to attend every first Wednesday of the month. To attend the union meeting. I want to understand where the union issues are. The reason where, if you allow big businesses to operate without checks from the workers, they can mistreat workers. They can even pay you $5.
Yeah.
They are greedy. They're greedy for money, all these big businesses. So I support workers to organize in whatever capacity, as long as it is legal. The same way, I don't support the politician to monopolize more power. Because if politicians become more become more a monopoly, they become more absolutely corrupt, like Daniel Andrew, he can do whatever you want, and nobody will check him.
Yes.
So the same reason I don't want politicians to be more powerful. I want freedom protesters to check the politician. Civil society organization to be checking politician is the same way I want the workers' union to be organized to check the big businesses.
Yeah.
Any party that doesn't understand where I stand on that issue cannot have me.
Yeah.
Because if there's a legislation in parliament about workers, and I'm a member of parliament of a party, I would definitely vote for the workers.
Yes.
If there's a legislation in parliament that is restricting powers of the government, I will vote against the big government for a smaller government.
Yeah.
So I got my 2 feet into, and then finally I'm a serious supporter of the family. Because if we do away with family, we'll do away with the nation. Because good citizens come from good families.
Yes.
So
and you're a family man? You're married?
Getting married soon.
You're getting married soon? Does she know? Have you asked her yet?
Huh?
Have you asked her yet? Does she know that she's getting married to you?
She's very much aware.
That's fantastic.
Lockdown would have finished by now.
Yeah, congratulations, mate. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, I will let you know.
I agree 100%. Maybe we'll have to interview her for the channel. You know, that could be fun. We'll talk.
No, I don't want to bring her politics yet. Nah. Let me make some clarification. I wouldn't want somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody, like if you have a missus, don't bring her to politics because she's your missus and you're a politician. Let it be her own choice.
Yes.
Maybe she's not interested in politics. Let her do what she's interested in. If she's interested in politics, don't stop her.
I think you should have been my marriage counselor many years ago when I was married, because that was a disaster.
You would have divorced like I did, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. No, look, Jerry,
that's what I'm coming back to the political parties.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind joining any party, but I want to really see, now that the lockdown is finished, I want to be attending some party meetings, or maybe meet with some party leaders to understand where they stand.
Yes.
One of my strongest points, to be honest, many people will not agree with me, is that the one for the workers, the family, and less government, and then less immigration. There are a lot of poor Australians. There are a lot of poor Australians that need to be fed than to bring in more immigrants.
Yeah. Oh, that's
especially immigrants that are coming straight away to join the welfare.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have enough money to be feeding welfare. We need more people to work so that they can produce money for the economy.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think that's a very interesting stance for yourself as an immigrant to sort of take that stance. But I also think it's a brave stance to have, because you're looking at things from a clear perspective. It's not a biased perspective. You're not going, you know what I mean? Like, you've got real world experience to back up your perspective. And I think that's sorely lacking in most of our career politicians floating around Australia. They don't have life experience.
I also want to support that point. You know, if you become a leader, first of all, you came as an immigrant to this country.
Yeah.
And you are elected to represent this flag here. You are not representing a United Nations flag. You are not a prime minister of the United Nations. You are not a member of the United Nations. You are a member for a particular country. And that country is Australia. And Australian citizens, the legitimate Australian citizen, need your responsibility more than global citizen.
Yes.
So it is after you take care of Australian citizen that you can be able to give a hand to citizen from another. But if your economy, if you've got about many people are going to bed without food, thousands of them have no job, homelessness is going on, and then you go to parliament and your first bill is to bring in more immigrants or more refugees, then you are actually you are not the right person that should have gone to that parliament. Your first bill should be, what can I do with people that has no job? What can I do with people that go to bed without food? What can I do with teenagers that cannot realize the dream of owning a home?
Yes.
If you cannot answer those questions, and you wanted more refugees, then you're not an Australian leader.
Yeah.
You can do them as an activist. As an activist, fine. But when you are a constitutional force holder, representative of this country, your obligations are different.
Yeah. Mate, look, I think down the track you're going to make an amazing political leader in this country. I look forward to seeing, even if you were to not sort of join the Liberal Democrats and you went in another direction, I'd still love to see you in Parliament, because you do have that legitimate perspective, real world experience, and I think that's sorely lacking. We've got all these politicians in Australia at the moment who, they go to university, they go and get a law degree, and then they join a political party, and the next thing you know, they're in Parliament, and it's just nonsense. They've never owned a business. They've never done anything outside of this uni. The pipeline into Parliament is it's embarrassing. Yes, mate. Oh, very good. I'm talking. I got to teach this young man some manners about interrupting conversations.
That's all right, man. It's his time. It's not his holiday time. That should have
he's having a good day, little bugger. He's all right. I wouldn't give him back. Have you got children, Jerry?
Yeah, I got 2 boys there with my ex-wife. They live in Brisbane.
Oh, right. Excellent. That's fantastic.
9 years and 7. Yeah. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is that so that when they Google their son name, they should be able to be proud of who their father is. I know I'm not good enough. I would have not been broken up with their mom if I was good enough. But at least the little damage, the little thing that I'm doing now is to create something that will make them say, "Yep, he did not do well here, but at least we can forgive him for this."
Yeah, proud of their dad, and you'll go down in there, certainly in their eyes, as a proud, brave, a brave man who stood for something. I think that's very important in a family nucleus. Is even if people disagree with you, it's okay as long as they sort of see that you stand for something. You've got that courage, and it's one of the most valuable commodities, in my opinion, in Australia is that bravery, that courage. So I'm sure your boys are proud as punch of you, no doubt at all. And I'm certainly proud of you. I've got a bloody fly here. You know the Australian wave, Jerry? The Australian wave from...
We also have it back in South Sudan. At this particular time, there's a lot of flies.
They come in and they think your head's a bloody parking zone.
And a lot of snakes too. I went and walked before. Snakes scared me on the way. I have to run back.
Yeah. There are snakes in politics and snakes in your backyard. It's all happening.
So Dean, I just want to say something about Liberal Democrat.
Yeah, mate, for sure.
I think your members will be watching this. In Victoria, even if I'm not yet a member of any political party, I will help any political party interested in getting good community members on their side. Because if I can get some of these young people to join the political parties that they wanted, and they learn how to be articulate, and they learn how to engage with the wider Australia, I'll be more than willing to do that. I don't care whether they want to join Labour Party, they want to join Liberal Party, or Liberal Democrat, or One Nation, or UAP. What I don't want from these young people is that don't just be a number. Don't be there because of affirmative action. Don't be in a party or in parliament because of quotas. Be there because you got a conviction. Be there because you got something that you want this country to do. Okay? So if I can get 2 or 3, 4 to political parties, believe me, I can retire, put my Twitter, my Facebook off, go and live my private life. I don't need to be there. My job is to make sure that we bring up leaders. So I will be more than willing to help a Liberal Democrat. Tim Quilty and David Limbrick are with me. But on your side in New South Wales, I've got some contact that I can actually be able to connect you with.
Sure.
But your party need to get into the community. You don't need to be invited. Crash the gate. If you find some community gathering, community event, crash in there, sit down and listen. If you find somebody who is articulate, he knows what he's saying, and is likely to be the right person to represent Australia, recruit him on board, train him. Because we need a third front. We need the middle ground, the balance of power between the Liberal and the Labour Party. They may not be wiped out yet in Australian politics. You will always still have the Liberal Prime Minister or the Labour Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And maybe next election, I don't know what will happen. They are still dominant. They got the infrastructure, they got the resources, they got the corporate banking, they got the media on their side. So
100%.
it is difficult to remove them. But if you can have a balance of power, that balance of power has to come from smaller parties and independent. Simple example, I've been asked yesterday by most police officers actually reached out to me, and who have been stood down, and most union workers who have been stood down because they did not take the whatever it was. They asked me, what do you want us to do? I said, I told you, the fact that you have been stood down as a union organizer, your next job is to be a political organizer.
Yes.
If you don't want to join Liberal Democrat, you don't want to join Liberal National, you don't want to join UAP, stand as an independent. And make sure that in Parliament, anything to do with the workers, your independent members of Parliament will stand to defend it. Anything to do with freedom, your independent members of Parliament, not like the one that we have in Victoria, that are easily crossed over to the Labour Party. You need a balance of power that cannot be bought by a dominant party. And it will come from people like you getting out there to recruit. You have done your best. Talking to you now, you've talked to me several times. You have asked me to join the Liberal Democrat. I've not yet joined any party. When I join the party, I'll make it public.
Yep.
I've got best people I met on both sides, Liberal Democrat. I got in the Western suburb, I got Benny Finn. Benny Finn is a member for Liberal National Party. It's a very good person. I would declare from now that Benny Finn has to be supported.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
He's a freedom fighter. He needs to go back to that parliament.
Yeah.
David Limbrick need to go back. Tim Quilty need to go back. Catherine need to go back. At least these four, I can say, they've got my support.
Yes. Look, all the ones you mentioned there are very high quality humans, and I'm certainly proud to be friendly with two of them, as you know. And if
John Ruddick in news as well has to go.
John Ruddick's great, you know. Like I was more than happy to support him to be our number one Senate candidate. I'd love to get him elected. You know, I've become familiar with John over the last few months, and I've got to say I'm very impressed with him and his commitment to liberty and freedom. The same as David and Tim and all these other guys. I think it's really great. Just up here, Jim Bowden has said, hi, I'm from Sydney. I'm a lawyer. If anyone requires any legal assistance in the future, feel free to contact me, mate. Put your contact details in the chat. If anybody needs to reach out, go for it. During this period of time, we need as much support legally and emotionally and mentally and politically as humanly possible. It's a crazy, crazy time. Now, Evie's just mentioned I joined the Liberal Democrats. As I've seen, they've been standing up for personal freedom, civil liberties and human rights in the last year in Victoria. And she's hoping to be more active soon. Evie, you'd be more than welcome. And if you need any contacts, feel free to reach out. Hit me up on the Facebook or whatever, and I'm more than happy to introduce you to some people. I know a lot of Liberal Democrats around the country. I'm fairly familiar with them. So I'd be more than happy to tune you in and get you as active as possible. I think that's hugely important. One of the things that I've always been really proud about, Jerry, regarding the Liberal Democrats is our stances. We've got a set of principles on our website, and our elected members of Parliament, that part of being the party you've got to maintain these principles at all costs. You're allowed to have policy differences as a member, but overall, the principles are what's the most important for us all. And we will never have a member of Parliament that will, or council or any other elected position who will ever vote for a higher tax. There's just no justification for a higher tax. There's over 125 in Australia already. We don't need any more. If the government can't budget, they shouldn't be taking our money. And the other thing that one of the other key principles is we will never support any reduction in personal liberty. That's just something we will never support. There's no deal that the Liberal Party or the Labor Party or anybody can do. And Tim Quilty and David Limbrick will both confirm, and David Lionhelm, there is not a deal they can do. There's nothing they can offer us to make us break those principles if we're in the space. The Labor Party can't say, well, if we put in this new tax, we'll give you this. No. The answer is no. Don't approach us on that. We're not for sale. Our members aren't for sale. Our representatives aren't for sale. And look, and that's why I've been so staunch on the party is even in the little areas that we all disagree. It's a really I've got to say I do spruik the party because I think it's the best option out there. And we've been around for 20 years and we've been consistently in that position for 20 years. So anybody who is thinking and not quite sure, there's UAP, great party. There's a lot they're saying that's right, but they are really just almost a knockoff of the Liberal Democrats when you look at the policies. They've just taken ours and put a different logo on them. But that's great. If that gets them elected and they follow through with those policies, we're happy. Mate, anybody else you want to shout out? Anything you want to point out? We've been going for an hour now, Jerry, and I don't like to chat too long, take up too much of people's times because we're all busy. Mate, is there everybody, where can they find Jerry? Twitter, Facebook?
Yeah, Twitter handle is actually Jerry Anyuon, at Jerry Anyuon, one word, and you will have to put them up under the comment later on when we finish. Yeah. But my personal Facebook page, Facebook allow about 5,000 people, so it's getting filled up. So I would want people to go and like my public page. So I'll be moving most of my the public page is Jerry Anyuon, Jerkuei, and then Anyuon. You will have to put them up later on under the comment, so that people who cannot be accepted as friends on my private account can actually go and like my page. And from now on, depending on based on the demands of many people who want to speak to me, I'll have to move it away from my private account to the public page, so that I leave the private. That's the one thing I need to say. There's nothing much, Dean, we can say except that the end of restriction is the beginning of political work.
Yes.
On the 20th of next month, there will be freedom rally. That was the one this one for yesterday was about the bill, but the one on the 20th is the worldwide freedom rally. I definitely will be a speaker there. I'll say more than what I've said yesterday. I'll give out clear direction to some of the people that have reached out to me on what needs to be done. I am more than willing to organize politically. I will be giving tips about what we need to do. People who want to get some political understanding, let's join together. Reach out. If you don't understand something, reach out to Dean, reach out to me, reach out to somebody else. The last thing I will say is, it doesn't matter which political party now, as long as it's not Labour and it's not Green and it's not Liberal National, the rest can work together.
100%.
Because if we don't work together and we try to, let's say, for example, I live in Tanet. If you have the Labour Party having a candidate, Liberal National having a candidate, Liberal Democrat having a candidate, United Australia Party having a candidate, One Nation having a candidate, and then maybe 2 or 3 independent, that's a sure deal that the Labour Party is going to win. The incumbent will win. Let's say if the Liberal National have got an area that they're good in, we need to go and back up a candidate that is more smarter or more better than the rest. If UAP is the direct candidate to defeat the Labour Party or Liberal National, we're going to have to withdraw our candidate there. Because what we don't need in the next election, especially in Victoria, is to have Daniel Andrew coming back with more majority.
Yes. We need to siphon as much power away from that lunatic.
And that one worked by coming together. I saw yesterday, the whole thing was good, but I've seen some competition. I've seen voices that are UAP, voices that are independent. There was a lot of, I could sense lack of political organization. But we have time now to do that. I'm more interested in the states. I'm not interested in the federal government yet. Because we can have a prime minister like Morrison who leave every premier to do whatever they want.
The epitome of what a leader isn't is Scott Morrison.
Exactly, it's not. And believe me, Liberal National Party need to, if there's people to call for a spill, we need a spill again in the LNP.
Yep.
They need to call Morrison. It's not a conservative. So anyway, coming back to my point, we need to work. The work is about to start now. Yeah. Organize together, reach out to other parties. If there's a strong candidate, for example, that the Liberal Democrat have in the West, we say, okay, Can you beat Benifin? If Benifin is better for us, we can say, yeah, the Benifin is the National Liberal Party. Let's leave it.
Yeah.
Because he got a better chance and he's not going to suck into Daniel Andrews.
I'd like to see people like Matt Canavan and Bernie Finn I've heard the argument for many years now, and I've always said personally that if the Liberal Party did what they do on the cereal box, what they actually say they do, if they did any of that, I wouldn't be anywhere near. Liberal Democrats wouldn't need to exist. So, but I look at these guys, and the argument has been, we'll fix it from the inside. You don't fix a cancerous tumor from the inside. You cut it out and get rid of it. And to my thinking, we've watched Matt Canavan recently with the global warming stuff and the net zero emissions and whatever. And I reached out and I said, mate, you're in the wrong party. You need to come and join us, the same as Campbell Newman has. And I don't always agree with everything I've seen Campbell Newman say, but for these guys, they're waking up and they're saying, we can't fix this from the inside. It's not the LNP is not savable. We need to go somewhere that is savable and is consistent and does hold those principles. And, I'd like to see Bernie Finn reach out and go, hey, man, we're up. Let's do it. Matt Canavan's another one. George Christensen's another one. Craig Kelly's another one. These are guys who are strong and they have their beliefs. And even on the areas we disagree, it's only ever this much. We need to be able to work together and really drill home to the Liberal Party, the Labor Party, the Nationals and the Greens that they do not own this country.
I support you. Simple example is this. The rally we had yesterday. First of all, the restrictions are lifted. Legally, there was legally by law in Victoria, we are allowed to protest.
Yes.
Yesterday. Number two, there's no cap on numbers outside. Free. Number three, the bill that we were doing a rally for is something that the Liberal National has said themselves they're voting against it. And you didn't see any of their members.
No.
People of your own states have gathered against the bill that you said you're going to vote against. There are no restrictions on the protest. The COVID restriction have been lifted up. Everything was legal. Where were they? If I was Matthew Guy, and my friend David Southwick, who would be the one to lead that march yesterday.
Yes.
Because there was nothing that's going to implicate them anymore.
Yeah.
This was a normal civil rally within the laws of Victoria.
Yeah.
Again, the bill that they themselves said they're going to vote against. And then they were, no, to be honest, I don't know what to say.
It's that cowardice thing again. I don't think they've got the kahunas to go out publicly against Daniel Andrews, and they're all desperate to hold their seats. It's all about votes and polls. It's very disappointing. It's heartbreaking. But with champions like yourself, Catherine Cumming, David Limbrick, Topher Field, Real Rushkin, Victoria has some hope. I mean, if I forgot anybody there, guys, don't think I'm ignoring you. I just rattled off the top of my head some real solid guys who have been doing great work. And look, Jerry, thank you for your time. Obviously, I want to get you on Resolute TV every week or every couple of weeks doing your own program. I'd love to do that with you, or you invite your own guests on and have a good time. But mate, thank you so much for having our chat. I really appreciate your work. I'm so proud to call you a friend and know you. I think it's great, mate. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody who's been watching.
Thank you, everyone. That's Resolute TV. Like, subscribe, share all that fun stuff, and check out everything that Jerry's doing because he's a superstar. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.